Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Let's talk about what Elon Musk just said, and boy oh boy, he said a lot. Still don't have my studio complete, but oh well, let's just get right into it. And I kind of flowed everything, so we'll just go through the flow chart together. Do keep in mind that the coupon code CyberKevin in honor of the Cyber Rodeo does expire today. On lifetime access to those programs on building your wealth, lifetime access to Kevin on those morning live streams, and updates as they come out in the future to those programs at no extra charge. All right, let's get into it. So, in the introduction, they talked about regulatory credits would have declined had it not been for a change in this tax law that came out. This, not too much of a surprise. I'm more focused on margin going to 30% without the tax credits, and the fact that margin went up another 800 basis points on gross automotive margin despite tax credits. Really, really incredible. They do notice that individuals are starting to have a preference for the Model Y over the Model 3, which leads to a higher average selling price. I personally take complete credit for this after my Tesla review video suggesting that people should totally buy the Model Y over any of the other cars. Kidding, obviously, but I actually totally agree with that. I think the Y is a phenomenal car. They talk about how they basically have zero debt other than product financing. I think that's a nice pitch, and I don't think they're wrong about that, but like when I look at their balance sheet, I'm like, oh, okay, well, if I, add up inventory and cash and accounts receivable, assuming you'll actually receive those, adds up to about 24 bill, right? We've got about 30.6 bill in current liabilities. Current liabilities are around 21.4, so more than cover that, but about 30.6 in long-term liabilities. But hey, you know what? They're being creative about that. Remember, earnings calls are usually an opportunity for them to sort of sell the future as well. So always remember that. So 50% growth rate remains achievable, but what Elon Musk talks about is even better than that. So Elon gets on and he talks about how Shanghai has been leading to significant challenges, but we're already back up and running in Shanghai, and we have a reasonable shot at a 60% year-over-year increase this year. Elon Musk is targeting 1.5 million units of vehicles or produced this year, produced and delivered. Last year, in 2021, we delivered 936,000. 1.5 million would represent an increase of about 60.2%. Absolutely incredible if we can hit this. He talks about how basically what you want to expect is that Q2 for Tesla, the quarter we're in right now, that we've already been in for about 3 weeks here, is going to be pretty much on par in terms of expectations and deliveries. But really, Q3 and Q4 are where things are going to get explosive for Tesla. So in other words, now's the time to be in Tesla stock to prepare for Q3, Q4. So then we've got expect to ramp initially for Giga Berlin and Giga Texas, and then that exponential towards the end of the year. He is very excited about announcing formally at a robotaxi event, the robotaxi, which will have no steering wheel, no pedals, and will be fully optimized for robotaxi. He suggests that this would be the lowest cost per mile vehicle ever that has existed, and potentially even cheaper than buses and subways. That was pretty incredible that he mentioned that, given how subways are so inexpensive. Though in New York, people are now complaining about the fact that you have there's the pizza cost index, where basically the cost of a subway ticket has always been less than or par with the cost of a slice of pizza, but now subway costs are being limited and pizza costs have gotten more expensive due to inflation, and the government's artificially keeping subway costs low. And so if Elon can compete with even subsidized low subway costs, man, that's pretty juicy. Also, he believes the robotaxi will be a very powerful product and, quote, aspires to reach volume production by 2024. That's insane. That's way sooner than I thought. Volume production on robotaxi by 2024? Worth noting, we didn't hear anything about Twitter in this earnings call. I mean, it makes sense. This is not a Twitter earnings call, but I thought people might take the opportunity to ambush Elon. Maybe they tried and they purposefully just didn't answer those questions or ask those, let those people ask the questions. Cybertruck on a track for 2023, and then Optimus for 2025. Confident about exceeding 50% growth per year over the next several years. Netflix can't say that. They're trying to hit 10% per year over the next 5 years. I mean, what a difference there. People make fun of Tesla's multiple, but it's because there's so much freaking growth at Tesla And more importantly, they're hitting it. That's so important. They're actually hitting those growth numbers. And so hopefully Tesla continues to. But we'll talk about some limiting factors in a moment. Elon said that, literally, he said, those who carefully listen will understand that the Optimus will be worth more than the car business. That's my firm belief. That's the robot, right? The robot that could potentially in the future be essentially this humanoid that could do whatever you want for you. Collapse boxes, Amazon boxes, work in a factory for you, push a button for you, do the laundry for you, the dishes for you, clean your house. I don't know, maybe even other things that you can imagine. That's what Elon tells us, that it'll do anything we can imagine. All right, so maybe we'll get robo-uteruses for those who can't carry children. Anyway, Elon FSD. This is something that's come up a lot about in the past. We've heard Elon talk about this, how it's all about solving real-world intelligence. He's really excited about this, though, and does believe that there'll be wider access for everybody in 2024. He suggests that everybody join the beta program, which I was really annoyed by because I'm like, dude, I've had a 100 safety score for like 4 months now, and I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs waiting for my invite, and I still don't have it. And he's like, oh yeah, just join the beta program and try it out, and you'll see how great FSD is becoming. And it's like, been trying to. Thanks, Elon. Anyway, got about 100,000 individuals on the FSD now, which is up from the 60,000 we previously had. Q2 production on par, this is what we talked about. Q3, 4 substantially higher. 10 to 15% exposure to increases in raw material costs. I'm not going to read all of this here, but they basically talk a bit about how they have contracts with commodities companies, some of them that are long-term contracts, so they don't immediately get hit by these price increases, like when nickel gets more expensive. They don't necessarily experience the increases of those costs right away, but sometimes they have contracts that actually are tied to spot, and so what they're trying to do is raise the price of their cars so that when they get hit with the burden of higher costs, they're already selling the cars at higher prices. So for Tesla, some of the costs haven't gone up today, but will in 6 to 12 months. Well, the cars they're selling right now are cars that are going to be delivered in 6 to 12 months. And so they're raising the price of cars now, and they're hoping they don't have to raise prices again. So they say, though. They've said that before, and then they've raised prices. They were asked about going to a 100-volt platform for electric vehicles, and they basically said, look, for the Model 3 and Model 3 and Y rather, not worth it. Maybe over the life of the car, it's $100 difference in efficiency, not really worth it. It's kind of like Europe uses 240-volt electrical systems in our homes, and here in America we use 120. There are differences when you get to higher amperage requirements, which would be because obviously the more voltage you have, the easier it is to run higher amperage devices with less heat and smaller cabling. But higher voltages allow you to do that. But otherwise, for nominal things like even in our homes or in our cars, not necessary. Maybe a higher voltage system will make sense for the Cybertruck and Semi, but not something they're looking at right now. For the Robotaxi, they say there's literally zero benefit on this. 4680, expectation versus reality. Now, they didn't actually answer the expectation versus reality question. I thought it would be great if they did, but they basically talked about how it's so much cheaper for them to manufacture the 4680s that it's actually 5 times less expensive in capital expenses to build the factory, and then personnel is 5 times less expensive to make the 4680 structural battery pack because it's so freaking efficient how they've made this factory compared to the old 2170 cell. That's crazy because that means you actually have a better battery at a substantially lower cost. That's really, really exciting. Berlin's starting with the 2170s, and we're going to transition over to the 4680s later this year. Sorry. All right. So then raw material sourcing, they think a lot about this. They think the issues are really going to come into play starting in 2023. And certainly once we get to 5, 10, 20 million vehicles of production, that's when you really have issues with the macro of raw materials. Now, Elon says that we're thinking about these and have some exciting announcements coming in the next few months. There was a lot of alluding to them basically getting into the business where they think that other people are not getting into the business quickly enough. Something that I thought was really cool too is Elon says, we're gonna need to help the industry in this field and raw materials, especially in lithium. And he actually encourages entrepreneurs to get into the lithium business. He says the lithium margins are basically like software margins right now. And then Elon says, quote, do you like minting money? Well, if so, the lithium business is for you, which was pretty crazy. Now, later on in the earnings call, though, they did mention that they expect a lot of lithium production to come online within the next 1 to 2 years. So I thought that was quite interesting. So going back sort of in order of the call here, that was raw materials. In the raw materials section, they talked a little bit about casting. What I thought was really funny is they talked about how they might be able to recycle cast aluminum wheels from legacy cars that are basically junked, throw that into a big melting pot, and then use that cast aluminum scrap basically and cast their vehicles with it. Like the Model 3 is made from two-thirds of the Model 3 shell basically is made from 2 big casts put together, which is really, really neat. In fact, in the Tesla earnings call, we went through this. Here's an example of how they took 171 different pieces and turned it into just 2 pieces. Really, really cool. So then we've got a production in Shanghai, cheaper than the US, probably because of labor. Usually they have short notice when they have part shortages, but they're doing their best. They call it a Herculean effort. They say the current numbers of inflation understate the inflation that's actually happening throughout the world. So they think inflation is a lot higher than it really is. And I think everybody kind of agrees with them. Like the numbers that we get from the government are like, yeah, okay, whatever. Cybertruck will probably have 20 to 30% less parts than the other cars. That's crazy. I mean, we know already it's not going to have door handles, just as an example. Talk a little bit about how it takes 1 to 2 years to bring a lithium mine online, and really in 2030, then sure, there'll be a moment in 2023 where it's like, okay, yeah, we really got to step it up, but really 2030 is when they're thinking that's when you're really going to hit those limiting factors for lithium production for that cathode in those batteries. They were asked about bringing chargers to people outside the network, and they said it's tough in the US right now because we have different connectors in the US than we do in Europe, but it's a consideration, but they also don't want to increase wait times for existing Tesla customers, even though it could be a good opportunity to bring sort of people into the Tesla network. They touch also on insurance. They're trying to get insurance to about 80% insurance availability by the end of the year. And a nice quote they had is they want to turn the insurance process from a nightmare into a dream. And the reason they say that is they think it's terrible. You get into an accident, you talk to a claims adjuster, and you get assigned to one. Then you have to go get an estimate from like random body repair shops, and like then there's all this negotiating with the claims adjuster in terms of what they'll pay and what they won't pay. And the process is basically a nightmare. And they're like, well, if people are at Tesla, we underwrite the policy, we take the risk of the policy. We could literally see what happened in the accident because, well, they have the cameras, which is also kind of creepy, like Big Brother-ish. But I think that's what you sign up for with Tesla insurance. And then they could basically directly just loop you into their network of collision repair companies that either Tesla owns or contracts to and trains. And this makes the process a lot simpler. Now, I don't want to come across as suggesting that Tesla like deny your insurance claim if, let's say, you're texting and driving and you drive into a pole or something. Who knows? That could be a possibility in the future, but I don't believe that's the case right now. But it is kind of interesting how they were alluding to like, yeah, we could see what caused the accident. I'm like, can you? So anyway, look, bottom line out of all of this, I'm very, very excited. I agree that not only copy and pasting the Gigafactory model to getting to maybe 100 Gigafactories at some point in the long future, 20, 30 years out, probably 10 within the next, a few years, I would hope we'll be able to copy and paste a 10 Gigafactory soon. The Robotaxi event coming up, the Optimus, scaling the Optimus. I could not be more excited with Tesla. Honestly, like every time I study more about Tesla versus other companies, I'm like, why do I bother with other companies? Like Tesla. All right, folks, check out the program's link down below on building your long-term wealth, especially get prepared for the real estate market. Make sure you take advantage of that beautiful coupon code expiring today, 4/20. And folks, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Goodbye.